welcome to another amazing episode of everybody's favorite dynamic duo. The Gruesome Twosome present ATT Confidential. I'm ready.
I'm Dan.
You know it's an early morning record when I have my sexy deep voice. A lot of people on Patreon comment, be like, "Yo, what's up with your voice? It's just sexy. It's my sexy." Some people have their witching hour. I've got a sexy hour, and this is it. Whatever time we're recording this.
Yeah. All the 4 people who say that, you probably want to get your hearing checked. Visit your doctor and have your hearing checked.
This is a fun one because, maybe trigger warning for some people if you don't like the discussion of grape. If you're reading between the lines, drop the G. Because this cryptid that we're talking about today, well, that's its forte, baby.
One of its most prominent behavioral characteristics is that it has a very high libido, as has been described.
About the oily man, as us English folk would call it. But this guy plagues Malaysia. So what? How do you say his name in?
Orang Minyak.
Oh yeah, there we go.
Those are familiar with the Bigfoot lore and other or perhaps subspecies of Sasquatches will be familiar with the Malaysian orang pendek, which is like the species of alleged species of like dwarf Bigfoot, essentially.
And when they say dwarf foot, they mean like normal man sized.
Yeah,
like 5'8", 5'9", dwarf Bigfoot, normal human size. They call it dwarf Bigfoot.
It's like a smaller Bigfoot, a smaller hairy Bigfoot.
That's what we are from now on.
If your Bigfoot is smaller, if it is smaller than average size Bigfoot, then it would be a dwarf Bigfoot. Like you have dwarf hippos or a dwarf elephant.
For is that the North American Bigfoot has not figured out rape yet.
That we know of. So the Orang Minyak is featured in Malaysian folklore for over probably around 200 years, but there was actually like a more recent stint of sightings that made it into the news in late December 2011, and it made a big enough splash in the news to make it over to like Western news sources. Like they had it in a couple of local Malaysian newspapers. It made it over to NBC News. The Malaysian news site The Star reported that in the area of Kampung Laksamana had apparently for like 10 days had been terrorized by a duo, not just a single one, but a duo, 2 of them, Orang Minyaks. And so apparently the Orang Minyaks that were doing the terrorizing, they both varied in their descriptions. Like they had one that was tall and stocky and bald, while the other was thin, a bit shorter, and then had like curly hair. And so in the report of this Malaysian newspaper, there were multiple sightings during the Christmas holidays. And so some of the descriptions of the oily man being that, as you can imagine, he is quite difficult to capture because of his namesake. The
name, it's just not a funny name. It is named for a purpose because
it's pretty on the nose.
Is one, completely pitch black.
Yes.
So he can sneak around at night. And 2, he is covered head to toe in some oily substance, so that if you were to try to grab him, he can just sneak away. And as we said before, his affinity for rape, he's already ready to go.
Yeah, he is covered from head to toe in some type of lubricant. It's not really it's not really described or gone into detail about what it is, but he is very difficult to hold on to if you tried to capture him. But he is also that doesn't stop him apparently from crawling upstairs and like crawling up the sides of buildings like Spider-Man apparently.
Well, though the article was hilarious because the article says like an eyewitness said he saw him climbing up the stairs like Spider-Man. And I went, yeah, but climbing upstairs is a feat that I do sometimes if I've had too much to drink. So I don't know if that's like Spider-Man.
I assume they mean like on all fours,
Yeah, I
like
guess
climbing,
like really spread out. Yeah.
How some people do, and I still do sometimes when you want to go up the stairs really fast. It's just faster to get up the stairs when you go down on all fours. Duh. Now, so the creature is often said to be nocturnal. So if you're during the day, most of the time, more than likely you are safe from the advances. Yes, also if you're a man, because the orang maniac does have a proclivity for chasing down young women, especially those who would be considered virgins. It has a certain taste apparently for that type of woman. How it can tell that nobody knows. Nobody seems to mention anywhere in the folklore about how they can tell that whether women are virgins or not. Some type of spider sense that is instead a danger. He senses virgins, I suppose.
You know, it's funny because I was thinking that there's a. I was like, well, how would he? I was thinking the same thing. Like, do they just know? Like, do they have a smell or something? They're like, oh, there's a virgin in this house. But then I was thinking, like, another thing I read is that some people think that this is some sort of curse, right? And that the oily man has to sleep with 7 virgins in this, or maybe it was a virgin in 7 days, or 7 virgins in 7 days they have to sleep with to break the curse. But then I was thinking of like, okay, well, maybe if it's 1 virgin, maybe it's just a game by numbers trying to break the curse. You know what I mean? They're just snatching everyone.
So the orang maniac, its origins there are several different types of interpretations of the folklore. Where it is some people think it is like an actual creature, like it is a creature in itself. Others are the tale tells of a warlock who turns himself into this creature, and then, like you said, there's also the origin where it is some type of like cursed person turned into the orang maniac, cursed by a warlock. Now, we'll get into it a little bit later, but Malaysia has a very interesting cultural background. It's a veritable melting pot of both like the native Malaysian folklore. You have Islamic, and then like also like tidbits of like Christian and other. As it is like a trading port, and it always has been. It's kind of been like a bunch of cultures melding together and coming out with certain interesting bits and pieces of myths and folklore and stuff like this. So they have maintained both their traditional like shamanic and animism, worship of animism, and those aspects of that religion and culture, and then it's also like melded into with Islamic like occultism and esoterica, and so you get these things that. Perhaps it is a cursed human. Perhaps it is also a jinn or a spirit, some type of spiritual possession.
Yeah, wide range of explanations for whatever this thing is.
So, as a cursed human, in some versions of the legend, the orang maniac is thought to be a person who has made a pact with dark forces in exchange for something like power or wealth. And it suggests usually that the human sought these supernatural abilities and then, perhaps paid the heavy price, the typical wished for power and wealth, and it said like, hey, I want to be the slickest businessman in town. And they're like, gotcha. Like,
he's like, okay.
Okay.
Yeah. I want to be the slickest businessman around and get all the women.
Yeah, and it's like, boom, yeah, gotcha. I'm on it.
Right.
One down on the monkey's paw, like it.
Oh no.
Another one, like I said, but like I mentioned, is you have it is a jinn or some type of spirit possession, and then the orang minyak is associated with these beings that are prominent in Islamic folklore. It is a human who has been possessed or influenced by this jinn. I think often a person who is most susceptible to being possessed in some of the legends of the orang minyak is usually men who are overly sexually frustrated. I think it was some of the descriptions of that's kind of what the description sounds like before there was an man. Yeah, they turn into oily men. And then there's other where it's the orang minyak is a supernatural creation, that it's not human at all, and that it is some kind of like summoned creature through black magic or some type of embodiment of evil energy. And then according to this interpretation, the creature exists solely to cause fear and harm, that it is summoned or it manifests for this particular reason. And so
it's made. I love there's a site, I don't know where I found it, I have it written down here, where it just like lists their like alleged powers, and it's like the powers are stealth, speed, strength, agility, durability, minor intelligence, skillful at trespassing, hypnotic presence, black magic, evasion, immortality, hobby, stalking and raping young girls. Goals: continuing rape for all eternity for the devil to break free of his curse. Crimes: serial rape, assault, voyeurism. So he's that's in public, right?
The voyeurism.
And it goes type of cryptid: supernatural rape.
So we can kind of just say that the orang minyak is just like all of its activities usually have to do with sexual assault of some type.
Yeah.
Like that's what it is. That's pretty much its
definitely
main bread and butter.
The cryptid sex offender list.
Yeah, he would definitely be on there. It's like, he's not coming to crypto Crushomania.
No.
We disinvited him.
Yeah, we could. Yeah, the Crypto Crush-thon. He is not welcome.
Now, like we said, so the orang minyak, yes, certain his traits that are usually attributed to him are things like strength, stronger than a human. Yes, he is very stealthy. He also apparently, like, due to his, the thing is when they describe it being like it being oily or something like that, I'm not quite sure how to interpret it sometimes, because it seems like it's like perhaps he's just like he's made of shadows, because one of the qualities that I read is that he's able to like slip into shadows and then use those to kind of travel around. Like he can just kind of slip into them and then go away, which is like, if you've read enough comics or whatever, like you've seen enough fantasy books, you know those types of creatures, which are just like they're a type of like oily surface kind of creature, but it's actually just their pure shadow, and they just like they can meld into the darkness, use the shadows to travel. But that's one of the traits that is attributed to the orang minyak, is being able to become one with the shadows and then either evade capture that way or use that to manage ingress into places that normally wouldn't be able to access. Now there are defenses against the orang minyak, and if you're worried about this, since it has been around, one of the things that I find interesting about the orang minyak is that it is kind of like a relatively recent creation. Like it's not, like I said before, and I mentioned that it does go back like maybe about 200 years. The orang minyak doesn't really have like it doesn't come into popular folklore until probably about like 50 or 60 years ago. And I think most people, that like there was a series of movies. There's like one or two popular Malaysian movies that came out that actually kind of that kind of catapulted the orang minyak into kind of the popular folklore lexicon, that prominent pop culture consciousness that we have, that it became like, oh, orang maniac is like a thing, and then it's like everybody knows who the orang maniac is and what it does, and so then and what it's about. So when the orang maniac was kind of alleged to appear in some places, and it became such a problem that they started people take it seriously, and people in Malaysia, and we'll get into this a little bit later, they take black magic seriously.
Anywhere in Southeast Asia, really.
Yeah, a lot of places in Southeast Asia. If you go into look into it, like black magic is a thing, just like in parts of Africa and stuff like this. Like black magic is a thing. Like it's mentioned in law cases. Like you'll have prominent officials like mentioning black magic and being like, these are precautions that we need to take or considerations that need to be made about the performing of black magic or rituals or things like this. So when you have the orang maniac come out, it's like there are people trying to figure out ways to avoid being sexually assaulted by this oily supernatural creature. So some women devised a defense against a possible attack, and it seems they have found it effective because none of them, from the articles I read, were assaulted or found themselves in the target. In the targeting reticle of the orang maniac. Was they would basically, so while they were sleeping, they would leave a pile of unwashed male clothing next to their bed, which would create the image that they had just been with a man. So it's like, it's like a orang maniac like pokes his head through the window. It's like, oh yeah, and then looks at, oh no, and just like box back down, and it's like, you're that one. No, scratch that one off the list.
She's safe.
And then some other women would just go a little bit farther, and they would just wear male clothing when they slept.
Pulling the old Amanda Bynes, she's all that. Not for bed.
Yeah, and
painting the mustache on.
So it's like you'd have that. I think other ones. What were some of the other? There are other precautions that they had to take. Like they like when they would walk home at night. I think some women said that they would wear like disheveled, kind of like dirty clothes and like muss up their hair a bit. Look like they had just been that they had just been coming back from some late night tryst with their lover or something like that, and so they would make themselves unappealing to the tastes of the orang maniac
or the oily man.
The oily man. So it's like there's those things. So to get a little bit more into the Malaysian black magic, one of the other ways to combat the orang maniac was that you could hire a Malay spirit medium, also known as a bamo, and they can also contend with they could create a spell or some type of talisman or something that would that they would kind of keep it away, a ward against the thing, perhaps even like make you really invisible, because I think it's like really the orang maniac. I think I was reading somewhere that it can only see virgins, and like everything else is like pretty much like it's like predator vision, I assume. It's
for like, virgins,
for virgins, which is terrifying. But yeah, it's just like I just imagine one of those kind of comical confrontations with their orang maniac, and it's like a guy with a girl, and the guy's been talking all this big game about like, I've been it's like I've been with all these women, da 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 da, and like the orang maniac like pops down, everybody's screaming and stuff, and it's looking like straight at him, and everybody's like, why is he looking at you? Like you've been with like 20 women, right? And he's like, yeah, totally. Sorry.
As the oily man, I guess. I mean, it doesn't. We can't say like.
Or like it hops down with like a couple, and it's being like, it looks like the women, a woman's being like, oh yeah, I'm trying to, pulling the whole like I'm a virgin and da 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 da. But it's not like looking at her; it's looking at the guy. It does like the little two fingers to the eyes, and looking at him. It's like
the little red beady eye.
Yeah. He's like, yeah, you. He's like, wait, what? It is a comical situation. The creature originally, I think, is like it's really supposed to be kind of like a funny creature. Like it's not.
Yeah.
I know sexual assault is not a joking matter,
laughing
but
matter.
but the creature I think is just so supposed to be like overly sex crazed is really kind of what it is. Like, you know, it is like
There is endless mention about his large libido.
yeah, that's pretty much what it is. Like it's always chasing, but it seems to me more like a comical kind of thing. You know, like the wolf and like the Woody Woodpecker cartoons and stuff like that. You know, it's always kind of that guy who's going after women, but like, yeah, it's kind of one of those things.
Because it was also
at least in recent
thought,
times.
It was also my thought too. Because I'm like, if he's covered in oil, right, so people can't get a grip of him, would you not, you know, could you not say that like the women would also slide from his grasp as well?
Yeah, it works both ways.
Right?
Like, he tries to grab them, they just like squirt out. Like,
yeah, he's like, right? And it's like, damn it.
It's just like endless, like just like slippery slide battle, like down the fucking hallway, just like it's just trying to. It would be terrifying either way, but it's just like, yeah, it's just really. So back onto the BMO, right? So a BMO is like that's like a legitimate job in Malaysia, or at least like a legitimate side gig that you have these black magic practitioners that somehow they probably get some certification from somewhere. I think probably like there is I assume there's some type of Malaysian school of black magic that you can go to and get a BMO certification. I assume because it's like you can be designated a BMO. Like it is the thing. You can do it
online now.
Oh yeah, sure, probably. You know, and the BMOs are so prominent that you like in 2016, so relatively recently, you had a communications officer with the government ministry who reportedly actually had to warn people about posting pictures of themselves on social media lest they could be used for black magic rituals. You know, this guy, Jazanul Azrik Erpin, who is he was a communications officer at the government ministry for cybersecurity in Malaysia, said he was aware of cases where shamans or BMO, like what they would call them, had actually like taken pictures of their victims from social media pages in order to perform black magic rituals, since that's often something that you would need with a lot of these rituals are like based on like animism like aspects. So it's like you need like items or like talismans of the victims and or like people that need to receive, because in Malaysian folklore, like black magic can be both used for good, like positive and negative things. It's not like there's white and black magic. There's kind of like black magic is just the one, and you can use it for both. You know, you can use it for love spells, you can use it for healing, but you can also use it for bad things. You know, it's just kind of you know, you can use it for give somebody bad luck, or summon up some type of creature to make someone sick or ill. Like those are things that can happen. But yeah, like this like prominent official is telling people that, yeah, do not be surprised. This is a quote. Do not be surprised if the BMO themselves are getting smarter and they may have installed wireless broadband to launch their black magic. So you can, so it's not just that you have to worry about identity fraud and theft on the internet. You need to scrub your Facebook if you don't want to be the target of black magic.
Yeah. And
that's something to consider.
One of the things that I had a thought about this, and like when I was kind of reading about the black magic and stuff, it's like I wonder if there's any, you know, I was kind of thinking that maybe because this whole society is full of people who like wholeheartedly believe that black magic and this stuff exists and is true and has power. I wonder if that gives it power as well. Like, you know, like conscious thought putting where you have everyone believing this, you're like, okay, yeah, like that. You're giving rise to it as well.
Yeah, it's also like a self-fulfilling prophecy where it's like, oh no, I've been cursed by the BMO, and then like, you know, you trip and fall the next day, and you're like, oh my god, black magic, no, curse you. You know, you get, you know, eat some bad Taco Bell, and you're like sitting on the toilet, curse you, black magic. You know, it's just something kind of like that.
I like perhaps. I'm gonna curse black magic for my misfortunes more often, I think now.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, at least you know somebody. It's not your fault. It's the fault of some black magic wizard putting putting a spell on you. As we are minor celebrities, and I assume that people who write our 1-star reviews are already consulting with Bamos and black magicians in order to curse us.
Do we have a 1-star from Malaysia? Maybe that might.
Maybe, yeah, we got to check. That's something
That
we have
might
to go check.
explain a lot of things.
It's where our hair went. God.
How do we beat the odds? Bamo!
And so, like, yeah, the Bamos are. I would also say kind of Bamos are kind of. Also kind of recent, I guess you could say, because like around like the 17th century is when they kind of like from then onward, people in Malaysia kind of considered Bamos to be just like healing medicine man, and we have those, and Native Americans have those kind of things where it's just you have like a shaman. It's just like, I mean, almost any culture in the world has these kinds of their shamans and whatever to perform certain types of magic. And we even talked about it, the types of the what were they called, the guys that had the wizard battle.
I wasn't on that one.
Not in the UK, but remember the weird house battle like that guy had. Those guys, I forgot what they're called. The thing, but we had those in the US, like imported over from Europe. Immigrants over from Europe brought those kinds of those culture and things with them. So even that they are prominent, you can have a big Bamo. Right, there's a Raja Bamo apparently who came out in 2014 to assist in the location of the missing Malaysia Airlines Flight 370, everybody's favorite conspiracy concerning major air flight, that the disappearance of this passenger airliner, and that nobody was seemed to be able to find it. But Dato Mahaguru Ibrahim Matzin, the Raja Bamo, or King of the Bamo, with his assistant, appeared in public and offered to actually locate the missing plane by conducting a series of rituals at Kuala Lumpur International Airport. And so the articles I read about this, it's like it did happen. This really did happen, and I think people take pictures and stuff like this. And I don't know if it was actually like. I'm picturing this, and I know it probably wasn't happening. I'm picturing this guy like on the tarmac, like he's on the actual landing, like the landing strip of like the planes, and like doing his thing with his ritual, which apparently included a pair of bamboo binoculars, not like actual binoculars, but like just like two pieces of bamboo that seemed like tied together almost.
Yeah, but everyone knows that works for real, right? Like if you put your hands up in the binoculars, you can see a little better.
Right, and you can also see into the supernatural realm, as like allows you to see creatures and the forces that govern our universe, I suppose. Yeah, right. It works like that. And also he used like a some type of like traditional Malay fish trap apparently, and he claimed that the plane, from what he saw, that the plane was suspended in the air in perhaps 3 different locations, which were the Philippines, the South China Sea, and then an unidentified country that was being or that the plane was being hidden by the orang bunyan, which are apparently a supernatural race, kind of like an analog to our elves. They're akin to elves in Malay legend, and so they were hiding this plane. They're hiding MH3 was it MH370?
Yeah,
designation. And so after he did this initial the initial scrying, I guess you could call it, found the plane in one of these 3 locations. And I'm not sure if he was sure that it's like existing in those 3 locations simultaneously. It's more like it's in one of these locations. And then some of the articles I read, it's like it's either it's in the air or it's on the ground. It's kind of what he said. I'm like, well, yeah, that's the only 2 places.
I could probably guess that.
It's like, I guess that checks out, because you're like, I mean, it's got to be in the air or on the ground. So, good on you, I guess.
Yeah. That's
oh God, he's so accurate.
Yeah. God damn, he's a genius, this guy.
So apparently he had a few days later, he came back with his 4 assistants. He had 3 males and 1 male come back to the Kuala Lumpur International Airport, and they brought like a water gourd, a holy filled with like holy Zamzam water from Mecca, and then a small Surat Yasin book, and then several other items to conduct another ritual. I think he had it's also mentioned that he had a magic carpet with him, like not a flying carpet, but maybe just like a magic carpet. And so he had a number of other magical artifacts with him. He had, as most wizards do, he had a walking stick because you had to have one if you're a wizard. He had a basket with 2 coconuts, whether they were magical or not, or maybe they're just a snack. Not sure. Then he started doing his ritual for local photographers to come.
Like this.
Yeah, just like just clopping them together like a horse, like and then and so apparently the purpose of this ritual, according to Ibrahim or Matzin, like it was to weaken the hold that the spirits had on the plane, that they were, these spirits, these orang bunyan that were holding on to the plane or imprisoning it, like this was going to release it from their grasp. Whether that was good or not, I mean, we found pieces of the airplane. And we're all pretty sure what happened to it. So whether or not that helped or hindered the process of the recovery and discovery and recovery of the plane, we're not sure. Unconfirmed. Now, Malaysia, like I said, if you were listening, so he's like, Malaysian black magic is interesting because it has evolved over the centuries. Like the practice of black magic is very accommodating to the influences of the other cultures that have come in and influenced Malay culture over the centuries. So you have the regular native Malay culture, Chinese, Indian, and Islamic traditions all come together to make this interesting black magic, the current kind of iteration of their black magic. So you have your indigenous beliefs that were mostly based on animism and spirit worship, kind of form the foundation of the black magic rituals, and then they incorporate the beliefs and supernatural forces and manipulation of energies from these other religions. So you have like Islamic mysticism, like where you get your jinns, you get like a lot of their incantations from some of the black magics are kind of intonations from Arabic, like the Arabic language, and then you have like the study of there are a lot of Islamic occult sciences, like apparently there's their ilmu hikmah and ilmu kabatinan, which are kind of
mouthful.
Played all of these significant roles in shaping what is the current practice of Malay black magic. And there's just like it's neat. Like it is very cool that this has happened and what it is when you go in and explore the idea of how black magic and certain magical practices I always find it interesting to be like go into these kinds of esoterica and the occult beliefs of different cultures, where it's like, oh, like if you follow it back, you can see that it's like it takes bits and pieces from everywhere and these kinds of things, and they just kind of incorporate it, whether or not like it's like it existed before. It's like now it does. It's like jinn never existed in Malaysian, in the native Malay beliefs until like you have them over here. Like if you look deeper in it, you kind of want to figure out like, well, did the jinn exist or is it just a different name? Like they didn't know what it was and then they call it jinn, or something like that, which is always fun to look into. But like I said, a lot of their stuff, it all very similar practices like you have in any black magic circles across the world. Most of their rituals involve specific items, like we said, talismans, amulets, certain herbs or animal parts, and then incantations in certain ancient languages, whether it's native Malay or, like I said before, Arabic. Is some of those can be brought forth, and they can be for both negative or positive, like trying to locate missing planes, apparently, allegedly. Whether or not that was successful or not, we're not sure.
Did they find anything? No, not really.
Did the Malaysian elves disappear the plane? Not sure. Don't know what happened. Unconfirmed.
I mean, I don't even know if like how into I would be like even claiming that. I'd be like, maybe we'll stay away from the missing flight one.
I mean, that's a good way to make. That's the good way to make your name.
Hey,
come out there because it's
I
like they're
no.
gonna.
No exposure is bad exposure, I guess, right?
Yeah, it's in black magic, you know, it's like everybody knows, and he's the king of the Bamo, right? I mean, what are they gonna do to him? It's just, what are they gonna do? Arrest him? It's like, dude, I'll put a curse on you. Like,
I like to think there's like a Bamo high table as well, like
yeah,
like a council.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's because who elected him, Raja Bamo? Is it an elected? Yeah, that's what I wonder. Is it an elected position, or is it something that is handed down from down the family line?
But the Oily Man it's an interesting one because we do have some. If you're thinking it's like Bigfoot-esque, the only difference is like this thing doesn't really get described as with a lot of hair. I was thinking, because then I was trying to think of like, what's the matted Bigfoot? Is that which is the matted one that's like all fucking, is it the Florida, but some people think it's a chimp?
But like swamp ape? Are you saying
swamp
swamp
ape? Yeah, swamp ape.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, well, maybe he's a little oily. But I was trying to find like a North American equivalent, and I couldn't, which is, we're probably thankful that that's the case. That's why North America is so great. No Oily Man, because he's terrifying.
Yeah, we have no Oily Man.
Terrifying. His MO is terrifying.
Yeah, and it's like it's all the artwork that you find of the Orang Maniac is like this big hulking menacing figure, like he's like super cut and stuff like this. But from most of the freaking explanations, it just sounds like some regular dude.
Yeah, like
just greased up
little skinny guy.
Yeah, and then in various states of undress. I think there's some people that say he actually wears like a full like jet black clothing. Like it seems like he has like, he is wearing some type of either jumpsuit or like some type of shirt and pants. Other people say he's just wearing like underwear essentially.
I personally picture him in like one of those like reed skirts. You know what I'm talking about? Like a hay skirt kind of thing. That's what I picture him in.
I said, yeah. I mean, he could just be like one of those, just he's just in a underclothes kind of thing. It's just like I just imagine he's just wearing one of those. It's just like okay, like a little sumo thing,
that's
just running around with
that. There's also like I know there's some other weaknesses. You're pretty safe if it's raining out.
Yeah,
because
that would make sense.
Obviously, the rain washes the oil away.
Yeah.
So they do not like to be out in the rain. So if it's raining,
right, they could potentially be captured. Yeah,
you're okay.
You're safe in the rain.
What's the other one? Banana petals. I don't know.
I suppose. Are you supposed to like keep them on you?
I don't know.
You're supposed to keep them on. Yeah. The Batik, like that was mentioned too. That it is like the Batik was it's like if you take apparently like if you are the victim, you can bite your own left thumb and then cover that in a cloth that contains a magic spell. That's called a Batik.
But then, did you read this too? Because then like you weaken the oil, you throw it at him and it weakens him. And then from what I read, and maybe I didn't understand it, because I got the thumb, put it on, then you throw this thing at him. The Oily Man.
Right.
But then for this to work, once the Oily Man bites his own thumb, he dies. And I was like, that's a big if. I was like, is this guy like a perpetual thumb sucker? Is that what's going on here? Like,
good question.
Did you read that too the same way?
I didn't see that one. I didn't see that specific account of being like that he's supposed to bite his thumb after you throw it at him.
And the Oily Man will die if his thumb, if his
bitten.
thumbs are bitten afterward. I guess you can bite his thumb, maybe?
Okay. All right. That makes sense. That would make more sense, I suppose. I don't know if I would. I mean, as opposed to being sexually assaulted by a pitch black Oily Man or biting his thumb, that probably might be the more preferable situation for me.
Yeah, you can also circle your bed and like instead of salt, sweaty clothes.
Yeah. It also says I guess it says cloth. It doesn't say how big it has to be. You could throw like a whole sheet out, a big king size sheet at him, I guess. Like it's like, you're not getting away with this. You're like, if you were trying to think of like just like a pocket square or something, you'd be like, because he could just jump out of the way. But if it's a big like California king sheet, that guy's going nowhere.
Don't, Oily Man.
Now give me them thumbs.
Wipe yourself clean.
It is like I said, I think the orang miniac is always supposed to be kind of like a more comical creature, like a more funny creature. Than anything. Like, it's just kind of one of those things that, like, oh, you're walking home, watch out for the orang miniac. It's not like a real thing, but it's just, it's just kind of goofy to say. But it is
orang just means short, I think.
I think it means like man. It means like man.
I think it means short because there's another cryptid that's called what's it called?
Well, there's orangutan. Orangutan is like means old man of the forest. So it's like I think orang is like man is, and then everything else is kind of the.
I thought I saw
like orang pendek is like small. Like, I think it's probably pendek is probably like a small child or something like that.
Okay.
Like a small person is kind of what they're supposed to be.
I got my little tiny oily man right here. He's just waking up. Hold on one second. I'll grab. This guy's he's asleep the whole time. He'd wake up briefly and then be like, "Woo!" He's just checking out himself. Huh? What's up, little oily man? So,
there you go. So yeah, that's the orang miniac, the oily man. So if you're walking home at night, and you're worried about being sexually assaulted by some, I would just actually, it's like. In some places in the United States, it's like you don't need the orang miniac. There's plenty of them. Something else to worry about. I'm sure most women who are familiar with the strategy of keeping your keys like in your fist. It's not a bad idea. Yeah, I'm sure that would ward off an orang miniac pretty quick too. So it's just
what else is good for oil?
I would assume like if you threw flour on them or something, like if you just threw
something.
Yeah, you just baby powder, like
just a little baby powder in your pockets.
Yeah,
right
you keep the what is it? Like you keep the one that's got like menthol in it. It gets in his eyes and it's like and then you book it because nobody wants to. Depending on how built this oily man is, like I said, like the descriptions of him is like either just some average dude or it's like a big hulking scary dude. Like might not want to. Depending on that, it would probably be my that would hinge on my decision of either running full speed out of the room.
Well, there is reports before we left this one up, but like as we joke and stuff about him just crawling upstairs and stuff. There is some where they're like, yeah, he crawls to the top of the stairs, but then he clean jumps right up on top of the roof.
Yeah, like jumps on the
right, and then them scurrying on the side of buildings and stuff. So something to watch out for out there. Watch out for oily man.
Yeah, if your night wasn't already full of terrors, you have you can add the orang miniac to that list.
Yeah. And I'm gonna go ahead and say that, like, this is a little older. If you're a young man, and you're a virgin, you got to be just as worried.
Probably, yeah. We're living, yeah.
So go out there.
This is modern times, man.
Protect yourself. Get some.
Or get yourself a batik. Yeah. Carry around your little supply of batiks.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, let's wrap this one up, Dan. What do we say at the end of these things?
So, as we always say at the end of these, keep it confidential.